Hello everyone, welcome back to On The Fly. Today we're going to take a look at the quarterfinal review of the World Junior Championship currently happening in Halifax and Moncton. So hopping right onto it with the scores from today's games. We're going to start off at 11-1 for the US over Germany. In this game, really not much to talk about here. 11-1 tells you everything you need to know. US started really well, started hot right off the bat, scoring three goals before Germany even had a shot on net. And when you have that much of a sort of barrier to get back in the game, Germany's not going to do that, especially against a team like the U.S. The U.S. looked really good today. We'll see if they can carry it into their semifinal matchup against Canada, which I just spoiled the ending of the next game for you because there's not much to talk about in the first game. So, the U.S. played really well. They played way better than Germany, and they're more skilled than Germany. So with that being said, that's your storyline of the 11-1 victory for the U.S., putting them into the semifinals. Taking a look at the second game of the day, and this is where things got a little crazy. Remember, this was the last game of the day. Not the first game, but the last game, so it ended crazy, and it started pretty crazy too, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. But we'll start here. Canada winning 4-3 in overtime. Connor Bedard, you are beautiful. I am very pleased with you right now. You definitely deserve to be number one. So I thank you for putting Canada into the semifinals. But with that being said, we did go live for this game. There was a bunch of us, and with that being said, it was an interesting live stream. We're going to do it again on January 4th when Canada plays the U.S. So definitely come back for that. If you're not going to come back for anything else, be there 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on January 4th. But with that being said, this game was, although it was 4-3, it shouldn't have been 4-3. The Slovakian goaltender stood on his head. Canada looked pretty good. I was surprised that the score was this close, even sort of after the fact. You look back on this game, Canada led, for the first two periods at least. There was no doubt in my mind that Canada was going to win this game. Third period came around, it got a little bit testy. I'd say for the most part they played pretty evenly. For at least Slovakia looked really good in that regard, and Canada sort of played down a little bit in that third period. And then overtime hit, and it was all Canada. But at the same time, when it's all one team, eventually there's one chance going the other way. Milic was up to the task, the goaltender for Canada. But at the same time, Slovakia played great today, and I was pretty surprised for the most part how well they did against Canada. I knew the game was going to be a lot closer than a lot of people thought, but at the same time, I didn't realize it would be that close going into overtime in a quarterfinal matchup against probably the top nation at this tournament. So it's definitely something to be proud of, and I'll sort of show you a little clip of the reaction to the Connor Bedard goal right now.
Shoot, baby, shoot. Junior history! Let's go! We'll be back Wednesday, January the 4th.
He's staying in Canada!
Canada! USA! Whoa! Wow! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
So exciting indeed, and one of the big things from this obviously was Slovakia pushing Canada to overtime. Definitely a proud tournament to be a part of for Slovakia, and being able to, number one, beat the U.S., that was pretty cool, and take Canada overtime, the two best nations in the world. They have definitely shown themselves at this tournament, and I definitely look forward to seeing them back next year as they probably push towards a medal. And really, there's no reason after this tournament I see why they cannot win a medal. They looked really good all tournament long. So it's interesting to see how they come back next year. But with that, move on to the third game of the day between the Czechs and the Swiss. This was a 9-1 victory for the Czechs. This game, although the score was 9-1, obviously a lopsided affair, the game itself was not that lopsided. And one of the big things to really look at here is the two teams were balanced the entire game. Like shot-wise, playing-wise, offensive zone time-wise, it's just every shot that the Czechs took seemed to go in. And when those kind of games happen, it's just unfortunate to be on the other side. And this game, nonetheless, 9-1 for the Czechs. Hard to come back if you're the Swiss. The Swiss were, for the most part, right in it the entire game. It's just the score kept getting up and up. The Swiss rather, were still battling. They had plenty of chances, just could not finish. The Czechs finished their chances. That's the story. 9-1 Czechs. Czechs move into the semifinals. And the last quarterfinal game of the day between Sweden and Finland. This was a doozy. What a game, what a day all in all. And this game was crazy. So what happened? Finland leads 2-1 going into the third period. All of a sudden, hey, Sweden wants to play. 3 minutes left. They score a goal. It's 2-2. Then all of a sudden, there's about, I think it was a minute 58, 57 left in the third period. It was 2-2. Teams are about to go into overtime. And all of a sudden, there's a high stick. But wait, it's not a high stick. It hits the visor. Technically still a high stick, but the Finnish player sold it like it hit him in the face. He went down, holding his face like it broke his nose. And yes, there was a penalty called, but the interesting fact was, Finland wasn't the team that scored. It was Sweden. Sweden scored the shorthanded goal, winning it 3-2. And this was very interesting to watch. And karma, if you want to call it that. This is why you don't dive in hockey, that's my opinion. But at the same time, 3-2 Swedes over the Finns in crazy fashion. An exciting game to say the least, and I was absolutely pumped for it, and it was a great game overall. But with that being said, there's one more game to talk about here, and that is between Latvia and Austria in the relegation tournament. So remember, that's the best 2 out of 3. The loser kicked out of the tournament. The winner stays in for next year. So this is between Latvia and Austria. So in this game, Austria looked really good in the first period. They held the lead 2-1, and then all of a sudden Latvia decided to wake up. And it wasn't even that Latvia was sleeping. Austria just played at Latvia's level. And then, of course, Latvia woke up and they sort of played their game, beating Austria 5-2. This game was one of those games where, I mean, to be honest, it was really good for the first 2 periods. It was going to make for a great game. And then Latvia took over in the third. Austria was out of gas. And unfortunately for Austria, they lose 5-2. So one more game for Latvia. If they can win, the relegation is over. Austria is out and Latvia is in for next year. If Austria can win, they'll be pushed to a third and deciding game. Going to be interesting to see what transpires there. And that second game is going to come live your way on January the 4th. This is not January the 3rd, which is tomorrow. January 4th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Latvia, Austria. Must-watch game. Once again, if Latvia can win, they will be in for next year. Austria will be out. So Austria is playing for their tournament hopes and dreams at this point. Going to be interesting to see what goes on there. The second game of the day coming your way at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time between the Czechs and the Swedes. This is going to be a great game. If you remember back to the round-robin tournament, the Swedes beat the Czechs in overtime. But with this being said, the Czechs outplayed the Swedes the entire game. Going to be interesting to see what goes on here. A great game, great Group A rematch up. And this is sort of one of the games that I really wanted to see, is how would the Czechs respond after losing to the Swedes, and nonetheless they get that opportunity. So it's going to be a great game to watch. Would definitely recommend 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And lastly, the game of the day. That's right, it is Canada against the U.S., always a great matchup, no matter what time of year it is, whether that's in round robin, whether that's in the playoffs. U.S., Canada, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember to come back to the channel as we will be going live for it. So definitely come and watch with us. Even if you have the game on yourself, make sure to come watch with us, as we probably going to lose our minds. If I had to guess, it's going to be a lot tighter than it normally is. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the U.S. run with it here. But at the same time, Canada-U.S., always a great game. Never know what's going to happen. That's coming your way live at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But with that, if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. If you'd like to drop a like, if you really like to consider subscribing, tell all your friends and comment down below your thoughts on quarterfinal of the World Junior Championship. Until next time, see ya.